Good morning and good evening. Today we're talking to Lewis from Ryder. This conversation is brought to you by Stacks Ventures. If you're an investor, please message Lewis for an invite to Demo Day, the world's first social wallet. Ryder kickstarts your personal journey with crypto, prevents backstops to theft and loss, and makes identity management easier. Lewis, how are you today, my friend?
Good, man. Perfectly fine. How about you? I always say same, but different day.
Doing well, doing well. I'm
Yeah.
super stoked to talk to you about Ryder. What you guys are building is, I think it's the next evolution of Web3, and you guys have the launch for the NFT collection to get a Ryder device coming up. When is the date for that?
Yeah, so we're targeting June, but of course, due to market uncertainty, I think the biggest question that we have at the moment for like a pre-sale, especially with an NFT, is how do we maximize capital allocation in a bear market, you know? So for us, we're gonna do a cross-chain mint between Ethereum and Stacks, and yeah, we see first on how many people get allocated for the whitelist, and then we can decide on the date. So we started the campaign few days ago. We have more than 100 plus contributions, 100 plus whitelists. We're targeting to, yeah, fully allocated by at least by the end of June. And then from there we can see.
I feel really fortunate because I got to see the genesis of the idea for Ryder. There was a grant request, and I know you and Marvin, and I believe Friedger is a contributor as well. And it's just been a collection of people with big brains putting these crazy ideas together, and now there's an actual physical device. Can you tell us just about like the initiation of that grant request and then the problem that you guys wanted to solve?
I think I'm gonna go back to the Genesis story, right? So on how and me and Marvin met. So I was originally part of the Blackstack team. If you guys know me, I built a community at Stacks. And then Marvin was a community member just like me as well. One day he came up to me with an idea. Oh, I have this idea that your private keys, whether it's public or master, shouldn't be on a device. It should be on a separate device to have utmost security. I said, yeah, like a lot of people come up to me with a lot of ideas. I told him, mate, maybe come back to me when you have like a prototype or something, and then we can talk. And then funny thing is, I think a few weeks later, Marvin came up back to me. Oh yeah, I already have a prototype. Can you look at this? And then okay, let's talk. I told him, and then from then it was the genesis for Ryder. We started putting up a grant request for it, and we started building it. It's been 2 years now, so that's how it started originally. And the problem that we're solving, I'm gonna give you a little bit of story, right? So this is like a good use case. So let's look at Teflon. Teflon is an NFT collector and a total DJ. The fund frequently buys an NFT, belong to a certain community, and goes to exclusive crypto parties. Even as a seasoned investor like you and me, the blonde gets phish, hacked, and loses private keys. And of course, when he loses these 12 words, he loses everything. So based from this story, we can see that Teflon is struggling with the user experience. And Teflon told me he keep his keys from 7 wallets in an envelope hidden somewhere. So to all of you listening, you can find his envelope and maybe you can get all of his assets. And he also dabbled into hardware storage such as BTC. So for us, the biggest question is, okay, it's been 10 years since crypto was here. I've been in the space in 2016. Marvin has been there since 2013. But why are my friends struggling with it? Why my friends way back in 2016, when I went into crypto 6 years later, still couldn't get in. That means we're doing something wrong. And that's what we want to solve at Ryder, right? So we want to bring you a simple, secure, and social crypto experience that focuses, of course, on your digital identity. Yeah, no, Marvin is super. I think in terms of, I mean, you also know Freacher, right? I think I'm super fortunate because we just have like a really great team at Ryder, right? So yeah, I'm super fortunate. I always tell them every day, we're super lucky to have both of the guys as team members, because we don't even need to worry. Okay, who's gonna do the smart contract? Because I told them, guys, it's a bear market. What are we gonna do? And they're like, oh, we have an idea. We can do cross chain mint between Stacks and Ethereum. And I was like, okay, cool, done. Because people usually worry about those kind of stuff. So
So
Yeah.
after you guys put this grant request in, and because that was almost 2 years ago now, and how hard is it to do a hardware startup?
Dude, this is funny thing. Because we were talking to Kayab. Shout out to Kayab, who's actually a mentor from our Accelerator. I think he gave a really comment that okay, it's named hardware for a reason. That's why they put that word hard in the beginning. That's why it's called hardware because it's very very hard, and a lot of people don't really want to do it. It's very hard to be honest, and but for us, I think building something that's tangible is always it's exciting, it's different. Okay, what is the thing with our skill set and expertise, what we could do with it and build something that could move the needle? And we felt like it's a combination of hardware plus software, because by the end of the day, if we look at technological paradigm, I'm going to give you a context. Let's look at, okay, the first era of the internet, the information age, right? So it was catapulted by the PCs. And then if you look at, okay, the next generation, which was the user generation content, it was forefronted by smartphones. The next question is, okay, Web3, what is the thing that will catapult it? So everybody has a big bet on, okay, AR, VR glasses is going to be big. And maybe it's the thing that will connect, crypto to like the mainstream. I don't think so. We don't think so. So for us, it's like a separate standalone device that's easy to use for like a normal average Joe and Jenny. If they tap it, crypto magic happens, and that's what we're trying to achieve with Rider. And we felt like we're the team that can actually bring this product to market.
Yeah, even I know there's this version of the future that some people see like kind of the Ready Player One, where it's this virtual reality world where we all kind of just live in the metaverse. But I think the metaverse is a spectrum of virtual experiences in the real world and real world being a virtual experience.
Yeah, I think I really like the code from Max Weiser. I think he called it ubiquitous computing. And he described technology. Okay, technology is something that you use to make human experiences better and not take it away from them, right? So that's what we're strive to do with Rider. You actually use it and that it enhances your social interaction. Maybe with Rider, you're able to meet new friends. With Rider, it is to send a blockchain transaction. Because right now, wait, let me pick my ledger. I think it's here. If I pick my ledger, it takes me 15 minutes to send a blockchain transaction. I don't think it makes my life easier, right? So if we go back to the quotation of Mike's Weiser, okay, you use technology to improve and make human experiences better. That's like our goal. How can we make everything crypto experience wide better?
There's a tweet from Orlando, and he said, to be honest, I didn't really get decentralized identities for the first time I heard about it, or the second, or the third. It just kind of seemed like one of those super amorphous and abstract verticals that crypto and Web3 people love to talk about. That really changed with Writer.
Yeah, this is a good one because so our team always what do you call this? We always try to question, okay, where is the space going, right? So for us, we bet on a thesis that, okay, what if we can bring everything on chain to the physical space? And for us, what if we can bring your identity within the physical domain? And it's easier for a normal person to understand, okay, this is actually my identity. And I can use it to log into application XYZ. And I think that's what he meant by that tweet. Because the moment you embed your decentralized identity with in hardware plus near field communication, you're able to bring human-centered element features for a normal person that's easier to understand. So for example, with Rider, you can use your identity or NFT to enter spaces. You can tap to send a blockchain transaction. And for the fun of it, if we're in the same space, we can even flick NFT to each other. And these elements revolves around your identity. That's why it's easier for a normal person to grasp it. And the main proposition for us at the moment, because we felt like the strongest USP is the social recovery aspect. So imagine a scenario where I lose my private keys, but then I actually delegated my private keys to multiple trusted writers for example, my friends and my family, and they could actually come together and recover my asset in the case of loss. So those kind of things, I think are, yeah, I think it resonates with a lot of people, and it's easier
That
to understand.
that actually is probably like a slam dunk, because today if you lose your private keys, I mean, you're so screwed. And people are so used to password recovery in web 2.
Hmm. Yeah.
Obviously we don't want to replicate web 2, but that social aspect of recovery delegated to writer friends and family, maybe you have to have it delegated to 3 people, but each person doesn't have the entire.
Yeah, so you actually it's what you call Schindler's algorithm, right? So you split your private keys in certain kind of conditions. So one person has two parts of it, one person has two parts of it, and another person has two parts of it. And maybe your condition is okay, 3 out of 5 people need to come together to recover my account.
As far as use cases, how will people use the device? Does that mean if you have multiple wallets, you can use your writer device now?
So we're gonna start first. So the firmware is available in Mac OS and Linux. So guys, if so, we sent 10 prototypes to our community members. If you don't have the prototypes, you can download the firmwares and the simulator to just test the sign-in and authentication. And so it's pretty much just think of it as a treasure and ledger with an endpoint, right? So that's what here's um this is where security comes in. Just for example, I think if you connect your MetaMask, this happened a while ago to a friend of mine. Shout out, I'm not gonna name it. Have my friend of mine connected to because they thought an NFT Discord server got hacked. And then, of course, once they get hacked, they go to announcement. Okay, free mint, only 100 spots. Of course, my friend clicked it. Okay, connect the wallet, and boom, everything's gone. Right? That's on your device. That's why you need a separate device such as Rider to actually be the endpoint. Because then if Rider confirms it, then it's off the chain. They can actually reach it. That's why it's important for like non-custodial cold storage solutions. So this is the same with Rider. So for example, if you're gonna confirm the transaction, you just need to tap it, you know.
Now,
And then
in
it's
that scenario, how would it have changed if you're using your writer to sign the transaction?
because everything is offline.
Mm.
Yeah. So because for example, your MetaMask is connected to the internet, right? But it's pretty much there's a difference between software and hardware wallets in a nutshell when it comes to security.
Now, see, I don't use a ledger at all, and I think there is
Now you're
this.
scared. Yeah, that's the difference. And I think it's more
Yeah,
about education, right?
it is
So
about education,
yeah,
and I'm interested to get your perspective on using hardware wallets versus a hot wallet.
I mean, it's called hot water for a reason. It's very hot. Right. So I mean, I have so for me, here's my mental model when it comes to those kind of things. My big holdings are on the cold storage, but then for like, stuff that I play with, it's just like on a hot wallet, and then you can see, okay, if I'm gonna take me as a use case, that's why we built Rider. Okay, there's a scenario where people want to play with the culture of crypto and have the bragging rights. What is the Rolex of crypto? We don't have it, of course, like that could be Rider, right? Yeah, I think when it comes to, but if you go back to your question, it's just more so hygiene. And if, yeah, people just need to understand why cold storage is important. Why is it important that you have a separate end device, and then it protects you from getting um hack or phish. And a lot of people actually experience it, even if you're a seasoned NFT investor. I think there was a news a few days ago about an influencer, even Bored Ape Yacht Club got hacked, right? Their Instagram got hacked, and then of course these bad actors already take advantage of it. They posted, okay, free mints, and then boom, wallets are all drained. And those could be prevented by yeah, separate end device like a hardware wallet or a social wallet like Rider.
No, I do think, especially as we head into the future, And the last thing that was preventing me from buying a Ledger wallet was because Stacks wasn't on there, but that changed recently. So most of my holdings are in Stacks. So it would behoove me to make sure to get a
Yeah,
Ledger wallet.
I agree. That's a good point that you brought up with, because let's take it a bit like more like on the crypto landscape, because usually, for example, certain ecosystem has certain wallets, right? So there's like a bet on wallets. So for example, in Ethereum you have MetaMask, and then in Solana you have like Fathom, right? So for stacks, yeah, it just takes some time for like integrations. Hopefully Trezor comes in. Shout out to Trezor. Time to integrate stacks. Also Exodus. There's a lot. Also Trust Wallet. Shout out to the guys. Yeah, it takes time. It's hard
It
because
does.
the main battle for integration for those kind of thing is, oh yeah, stacks is not AVM compatible. So it takes time for the engineers to actually put resources on it. Then they don't have the bandwidth because there are other projects that they felt like more popular. I mean, debatable, but we'll, so we'll see. We'll get there slowly but surely.
So you knew Marvin and
Hmm.
everyone in Stacks. If you've been around since Blockstack, you know Frieger. How did you
Yeah,
guys come together and say that we're going to do this as a team and do this full
yeah.
time? Are you guys also adding other roles?
Yeah, so there's seven of us at the moment. I'm super proud of the team. Okay, it started with me and Marvin, and then after that, okay, our next goal was like, okay, we're doing hardware. We need a product designer, and product designer are like one of the most hardest, you know, person to find when it comes to crypto. There's not much product designer in crypto because crypto people build product for crypto guys. I mean, there's a reason why our space is still so small. So for us, okay, how do we find a product designer? And of course, me being a social butterfly, I go to parties all the time. I met this product designer that became a team member, but I knew her as a friend. But I didn't know that my friend actually did product designer. Too funny. I met her so many times, but I didn't know she was a product designer. And then that's
And
how
I
we
don't
on
know if
yeah.
people know either, because when I was doing a Web2 startup many years ago, we needed a designer. The best designers in the world are in the Netherlands because they have
That's
a bunch of
true.
design schools. I don't know if people know that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And then that's how I met Kiki, and now she leads all the product design for Ryder along with Tom. So Tom's is also the industrial design. If you guys want to go to our site, Ryder.id, you can check like our new Slick site. We're slowly rolling out updates. And then we have, when it comes to Ryder architecture, hardware, and PCB design, we have John. So John worked for 17 years in Philips Electronics, so he did small to mass consumer hardware production. So for example, during his time, he did like the um, Philips CDs player in EU. So that's what he did for like mass consumer production. And then we also have Enzo, who does the firmware for Ryder. He works for companies such as Shell, NASA as well. So we like to call Enzo, he builds software that moves humanity. Because for example, one of the software that he built was they lift the heaviest key load in Apadox. I don't really understand it, but he does some really cool shit. And then he also, his code also moves like space shuttle within NASA. It is very cool. And of course, we have Fraser. Fraser knew Ryder way before. He was an original contributor, and now he joined the team formally because he resonates also with the digital identity. For us, I think the last missing piece of the puzzle, you have DeFi, NFT, DAOs, and crypto will come to a full circle once decentralized identity is realized, right? So if you look at the things, okay, now you have a form of governance. But if we look at the form of governance, it's mostly plutocracy. The higher influence you have when it comes to voting is when you have more tokens. And that could actually be solved by decentralized identity. What if you use your decentralized identity as a form when it comes to voting? So we have a lot of things in Reddit that we're working on that we think could make the space better. But not to derail. So Freezer joined. Freezer is mostly known for DroidCon. and it's one of the biggest open source contributor since the beginning of time. And also Marvin closely worked with Devin and OpenSea when they were 8 before they scaled to 300. He worked on their high DeFi trading engines. And then he also joined the Stacks Foundation as the technical lead. And you have me, community builder at Stacks, held various roles, and was the growth of the foundation and venturing out to do Ryder. Yeah, pretty. Yeah, we're a small mighty team. We like to call it the Avengers.
For decentralized identities, this is one of the hardest problems to solve because you're not asking people to submit pictures of their passports and their IDs. How hard is it to come up with a way to have verified decentralized IDs?
Go back a bit because for us we haven't really went on on like the KYC part, but then we're talking to like a few partners, for example, Tony from like Parallax. How do we KYC? For example, if we're gonna make an identity for Miami, but then how do we KYC, etc. So that's a different story. We haven't opened up there yet, but we're looking into it. But then I'm gonna go back for what we think identity is, and I'm always gonna say it. I think when it comes to Web3, you have multiple identities for multiple use cases, right? So that's how we see the space evolve. Maybe for me, I have a certain identity that I will use for my DeFi transactions, but this identity I wouldn't use for like if I go to like a government establishment, right? So those are two separate, and that's what make crypto so powerful, especially the identity layer of Stacks, because the identity layer of Stacks, Lewis and PDC, I can actually derive multiple identities under it. And I think that's pretty fascinating. And going back to your question, what was your question again when it comes to dual governance? So for the governance model, so this came up in one of our brainstorming session. We're trying to come up with a certain framework for governance model. What if there's a way for DAOs to do dual governance model? So for example, in the beginning, all token holders can make a proposal, and then rider holders can vote. So in that sense, you have a higher threshold and you can't easily gamify it. And people who has more stake in the ecosystem has like more say to it on which things should be implemented. And it's harder for like civil attacks as well. If we're being honest here, nobody wants to own 100 riders. I think that's ridiculous, right? It's similar to proof of work of Bitcoin. I think proof of work of Bitcoin works because it has a hardware component to it. It's difficult to attack because yeah, I think the hardware makes more sense when it comes also for DAOs.
So is there a KYC component coming later? And sounds like there will be a partnership.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So those are the things that we're looking at for that area. And there's like various solutions that we're trying to devise for it. But for now, we just want to focus on how do we bring crypto to everyone. So when it comes to the identity layer, we want to position it as, because we see a lot of communities evolve in crypto. So we're gonna position our identity layer. Buy your favorite community handle. So for Rider, you can buy your favorite community handle, such as Megapon. And that's how we think we should leverage identities to see explosive growth in the beginning. And then, of course, the KYC will come next because the government, if we're being honest, they always lag behind. So they come later. We focus first on the early adapters. Yeah, of course. Yeah, but we'll see. We have like a few conversations ongoing on that area because we also want to do it. Because if we want to seal a deal with an organization, especially with the government, they want KYC stuff.
Yeah, and I think regulations are coming to kind of cap the wild west nature of what crypto has been. And for good or bad, it's going to happen because over time crypto is just going to be another industry, right? Just there's going to be payments, there's going to be DAOs, NFTs, there's going to be a whole host of solutions that you can use the crypto layer for.
Agree. So I think it was 1816Z, software will eat the world. And I was like, crypto is eating the world.
When did you first hear about Bitcoin, and then you're a Blockstack OG. So then when
Yeah.
did you join Blockstack or Stacks?
I knew crypto in 2016, and I was working in an IT infrastructure company. It's like a consulting firm. I did a lot of I always like to do multiple things at once. So during the day, I work on an IT infrastructure company. We basically did like Red Hat, OpenShift, super legacy stuff. So I was a business analyst there. And then during the afternoon, I'm gonna clock out half day, and then I'm gonna work for a VR startup. So it was a healthcare startup. We were teaching doctors on how to operate through VRs. I'm a very random dude, and I was the only non-Dutch speaking guy there. I don't know why did I took that job, but I met the guys at a party because I'm a social guy, and they thought I was amazing, so they hired me. And I always wanted to transition into crypto because I did my research on the history of digital cultures. Shout out, I have a master's in green IT. I was trying to compute the carbon dioxide emission of Google search in my master's, but then I like the
What
theory.
was your master's degree in, Lewis?
Green IT, green
Okay.
information technology. So how to make sustainable technology. It's very green in Amsterdam, as you guys know.
Yes, in Amsterdam. Outside
Yeah.
of Amsterdam, where can you apply that knowledge?
I'm not pretty sure. And it was a very, very difficult study. As that's why I have high respect for Jude and the guys who does distributed system, because I took the class and I failed miserably. I even asked my professor, can I switch this course? And they're like, no, you have to take it. It's constrained mathematics. I was like, but I don't think distributed systems is my forte. Because I have high respect for all the blockchain engineers because I know how difficult it is. So yeah, then I like more like the history. So I did tons of history of digital cultures. What was like the first community that evolved on the internet. I literally like that. I get fascinated by it, and then I delve deeper on Web 2.0. Okay, and then my research was specifically was, okay, what's the breaking point for all of these platforms, and how can we catalyze a total paradigm shift? And my conclusion was it always reverts back to the same thing. We need a new technology that could achieve authentic sharing economy and could break down all these walled gardens. And my conclusion was crypto and blockchain. This was pretty much it. But then I came across, I think everybody, if you're a Stacks community member, you probably came across Munib's stat talk. I came across that. I was like, this guy knows it. I was like, if there's a crypto company that I will work for and put my time and effort, because there's so many rug pulls out there, not to count all the scammers, it should supposed to be worth it. I was betting on Stacks. It's Stacks. So it was like love at first sight. I read the white paper, the original Blockstick white paper, and I thought it was just like beautifully, well written. And I was like, these guys know. They just understood it in terms of implementation. Because way back in 2017, the question was already scalability, right? Because everybody was like putting everything on the chain. And then they realized, okay, we can't really put everything on the chain because you're going to have scalability problems. Back then, Stacks already knew not to put everything on the chain. So they only utilize it for like identities, which I thought was pretty fascinating. And then the computing was done on the edges. That was their proposition. The same thing now. They already know we're betting on Bitcoin as a settlement layer.
For your experience in the accelerator, tell us about uh, the experience in the accelerator. Tell us what advice you'd have for others.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The accelerator was just for us was eye opening, right? So I think when you work on a project for so long, especially in crypto, you need a fresh set of eyes, and that's what the accelerator brought. So for Ryder, they gave us a really good product positioning, because before we were trying to position, oh, it's like a modular crypto hardware device with your decentralized identity. And then if you tell that to a person, they're like, okay, WTF, what are you doing? And now we can easily say it's the world's first social wallet, right? And then the product positioning is today you have software wallets used for logging into Web3 application and hardware wallet used for storing your network. The next generation of wallet will bring real life interaction to crypto. And that's Rider, the rules for social wallet. And these are the things that you can get at the accelerator. It's a fresh set of eyes, certain direction, better product positioning, and you can easily harness your pitch. Within 1 minute, I can explain you what Rider is, right? So we bring you a simple, secure, social crypto experience. And before we're like, yeah, we embed your decentralized identity with near full communication. I think the problem for us before was we're in it for so long and there was just so much technical jargon. And the accelerator actually helped us distill it very, 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 very high level that a normal person or like an investor in Web2 could easily get it. And now if you go to like our web page, it shows, okay, this is what they got out of the accelerator. Yeah, it's super worth it. So shout out if you're building on stacks or planning to build on stacks, definitely apply to the accelerator. If I'm gonna give you one tip, so what we did is we first applied for a grant to actually build an MVP, and then from that MVP go to the accelerator. I think that's like a really nice kind of timeline. And after the accelerator, you have the demo day, you raise your pre-seed or seed.